Hey guys, it's Will. So one of the stocks that moves tremendously with the quantum market is QBTS, D-Wave. Now, we have a lot of history covering the quantum market since this year. We've been to some events at CES where we've gotten to meet a lot of executives, as well as some of the scientists that are doing things like improving lithium ion battery efficiency to making drug discovery a thing where they can find millions and millions of data points and cut them down into a few combinations of peptide proteins for binding and creating vaccines, to working on making their quantum computers work with GPUs. There's all these different things that go into making quantum computers more future proof. And as AI develops and more quantum computing or just computing in general is needed, quantum computers become an obvious solution for that increased amount of computer generation that's needed, and that quantum computers can do that with using less energy. So in this video, we're going to cover QBTS, a full breakdown. The reality of the quantum market is that long term, it seems pretty promising. There's a lot of good investments in the companies. You got institutional holdings from most of the big institutional investors. And then on top of that, the markets, according to IBM and Microsoft, projected to grow between $3 and $5 trillion over the next few years. So when it comes to QBTS, there are a few things that they stand out with. They have a different kind of quantum computer. It's quantum annealing. They also use simulations of calculating quantum events rather than, for example, IonQ uses like trapped ions, or Rigetti has more of a modern quantum computing way of approaching it. QBTS comes in with this quantum annealing, which in one instance is very exciting, and on another instance, you have this market development of, yes, they're a leader, yes, they're up to this $20 a share. We started covering them back around $1 a share, but there's also a pretty large discrepancy between their current price of their shares and their market cap. So a little bit different than some of the other quantum companies where we see more runway. But let's take a look. QBTS stock. We go through three things in our MAP strategy. It's the market, then the analysis of the financials, news, and the charts, and then we'll get into the profit margins or profit potential. You can see just a day ago, D-Wave enters agreement to sell up to 400 million shares from time to time, and proceeds for general corporate purposes. So the reason for this is sufficient cash to reach profitability. They had some increased revenues in their last quarter, part of that being their sale to the Jülich German research center there for their quantum computer. And when you look at the financials from, the net income and looking at their quarterly, their net income has been pretty low. On an annual basis, they're at an all-time low on the net income, but their revenue has slightly increased about $1 million year over year. There's a few things that go into that. One of the reasons the revenue has increased year over year into 2024 at least was because they have this NASA contract. So if we go to, I don't know if it will show directly on their site, but D-Wave Quantum has a NASA contract that is one of those contracts that gets renewed every few years, and when it gets renewed, it's always a little bit more money usually. And when you look at their solutions here, you could see their quantum optimization summary, production scheduling, logistics routing, and that also is going to be with companies like this Pattison Food Group, as well as Ford Manufacturing, Ford Audison, and then you got NTT Docomo. We got to hear all these companies speak when we went to the D-Wave event in Scottsdale, Arizona, which was really good insights into what their focus are. They have some simulations, and the one question I was asking was, how do they stack up against GPUs if they can run the way they run and their quantum annealing? Is there a reason that they don't have solid benchmarks with the GPUs that they're compared to. So I haven't seen that. They talk about it going on beyond classical, and that's one of the things that I would like to see, or any investor would like to see. You could see kind of the contrast between using GPUs and using the QPUs, but the GPUs are just referenced as GPU clusters and not giving us how many or what type of GPUs they were being compared to, which are benchmarks that we'd like to know. When it comes to Alan Barrett, we were able to meet him in Scottsdale. He's a very well put together CEO and has an amazing copywriting speech. He's a great communicator. You could hear the way that he talks is valuable, and it is marketing based in a way. And I don't know how he would feel about that statement, but I don't really care because the reality is any company that is successful is going to need to sell. He does a great job of it. Are there times where we're like, wow, that's really good language, but it doesn't give us hard evidence? So like, it's selling, but is it that good? Yes, we have those conversations every once in a while, but that is how things look right now. It's just they're selling, they're doing okay with their financials, and that's how the product's doing. They're making a sale every once in a while. So it's possible this was just a short-term surge in their recent revenue unless they have another sale, and we'll see if that's able to happen. When it comes to their balance sheet, though, total assets were up in 2024 to about 199 million, which if we get the quarterly, though, let's take a look. They don't show you the liabilities on paper here inside of Google, so just keep that in mind. Net in cash, 148 million in December, and it had dropped to 126 million. And we'll be watching closely throughout the rest of this this next week because the market was overall selling off. So if we're going to see that sell-off potentially continue, a couple levels to watch. We had just pulled up this resistance here. We got a resistance at about $9.80 and then up to about $12 there and slowly rising. Last time we talked about it, there was this bullish sentiment from a lot of people. They were saying it's going to go crazy. It's going to continue up. And we were like, yeah, it is. I think we covered it last week. It was kind of doing this right here. And we were saying what could make sense is that it continues this trend down here, which it actually did continue this trend down. So it broke that previous level of support there at about $15 or $16, continued to sell past $16. And the next target for support, if it can't hold at about $14.50, which there is a support here, then the next level at which we could see it potentially sell down to would be down to this level here, which is that $12.50 range. So there's a clear support there at $15 where it is currently. So we'll see how it holds at that level. But the margin for profit seems to be limited. You got some upside, of course. It's like a 20 to 30% increase to previous highs, but that's kind of a hyper bullish trend. We talked about this previous resistance here last video at this $11.50 price point or $12.50 price point. It's about a 17% sell down from there to that previous resistance. That would be the next level at which we could see act as a support. So when it comes to QBTS, quantum computing market has been getting a lot of momentum, but the valuations that they're seeing currently, if we really look at the revenues and everything else, you got a market cap up there, right? The market cap's at almost 5 billion, but we look at their quarterly income statement, and if you just go kind of to annual, we're talking about over $100 million negative there on their net income. So not showing like cash flows or positive cash flows with the exception of the last quarter, which leads us to believe that it's possible that this move down to this resistance at $12 would make a lot of sense before any continuation. That would be a conservative approach. The bullish approach would be this support here at $15, that it does act as a support, and maybe we see this rebound up here, which would be about a 30% swing. But again, I think when it comes to D-Wave, there is this direction down. We got greater market sell-off that's happening, and that is why this move could make sense. 15% down, and that would be about a 30% sell-off here on QBTX. So watching closely QBTX, if we do end up, whether we play the upside or the downside, we would be trading QBTX most likely on the short term. For example, that sell down to that previous resistance is a 30% sell down on QBTX, and the recovery to previous highs is an 88% recovery on QBTX. So big potential profit if we play either the upside or the downside. But when it comes to the current moves with QBTX or QBTS, I would expect some volatility here. We'll see if it holds. I would expect near-term volatility. Long-term, over the next few years, QBTS I think is in a promising place, with quantum being a market to get more focus and a market that's expected to 2x, 10x, or even 100x or more over the next few years, and that this company in the next few years could be more than it's currently at without changing a whole lot of what they do, just continuing to develop quantum technology for the future. So the long term looks fairly certain on a lot of quantum companies. In the longer you extend the horizon, on the short term, there's a lot of volatility. Some of the companies that are also having more integration with GPUs or Microsoft or Google or Amazon are going to be, the Rigetti, IonQ, who we're going to be watching closely as well. So if you want to stay up to date with the quantum market, make sure to like the video. Do consider subscribing down below. And on top of that, one of the things that we just did, if you guys see this free t-shirt, Stockmate t-shirt, logo on the back. If you'd like to join us in our daily live trading, we invest in quantum, AI, space, and tech stocks, and you could get our daily live sessions and surround yourself with like-minded traders and investors in the second link below, as well as get this t-shirt absolutely free. So we got a special sale there just for tonight as we're closing due to the 20K subscriber special we've been running for the last 3 days. So for those of you guys that would like to take advantage of that, it's a huge sale. It's not getting better than this, and we'd love to see you there in the second link down below. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.